Emily Knowles here. This is big news. I am sharing with the world, or at least whoever's watching, my protein bar / ball recipe. And I am so excited. I'm so excited to share it with everybody. Finally, I have been making these bars for about 20 years and tweaking the recipe, refining it, trying to make it so perfect. And my family loves them. Our friends that we make them for love them. And so now I am sharing them with you and with everybody. It makes me so happy. So now, why am I making a video about this? Well, it can be kind of a lengthy process. And so I want to show you some tips and tricks to make it less painful. You could just look at the recipe that I'm posting and say, oh, good, I got it. But if you watch this video, I'm gonna help you not have to reinvent the wheel on a couple things. Okay, so we're gonna get started here. First off, I do wanna let you know that I have not memorized it, even though I've made these almost every week for the last 20 years. Sometimes I get a little out of sync, out of practice, but I have not memorized it. So I laminated it, and even in the last 10 years, I can see that I still have made changes. So you might make changes to the recipe, and that's great. Anyway, I laminated it. You might want to laminate yours too, so it doesn't get all messy. But let's start with talking about the dry ingredients. Now, there are 15 dry ingredients, and you might look at the list and say, oh my gosh, that's a lot of stuff, number one, and half the stuff I don't even have in my pantry. That's okay, because I really think you're gonna like these bars, and then you're gonna have the ingredients on hand. Now, the nuts and the seeds, when you open those packages and you don't use all of them, you definitely want to store those open packages in the refrigerator or the freezer. Because over time, if you're not using those up really quickly, you're only using them, let's say, for these bars, those oils from the nuts and the seeds can go rancid. So you don't want to keep them in your pantry. What else do I want to say? Well, I'll talk about some of the items as we go along. But what I do is when I get started, I get out like 6 to 10 of these gallon-sized Ziploc bags. And I just make an assembly line, and I go through the oats, and then I go through the nuts, and then I go through all the seeds and the protein powder and everything. And I just do the assembly line, so I've got like 10 of these, and I keep out one, and then the other 9 go into the freezer. So for the next 9 batches that I make of protein bars, I don't even have to think about all those dry ingredients because they're already done. So I just pulled this bag out of the freezer, and it's got everything in it. It's got all the seeds, all the nuts, it's got all the protein protein powder, and it's ready to go. So all I have to deal with is the wet ingredients. Now, one thing about protein bars is there's a million that you can buy at the store. In fact, I've even seen some homemade ones at coffee shops. But one of the biggest problems is that they're expensive. And you really can make your own now. And if you don't absolutely love this recipe, at least you can use it and tweak it. Like maybe you don't like nuts, or they're gluten-free. Maybe, I don't know, you want less salt, or you want peanut butter instead of almond butter, or whatever it is. You can make this yours, and then you don't have to buy them anymore. And so often we get hooked on a bar that we buy, and then suddenly we're sick of it. And it's really funny because this recipe, we never get sick of. I don't know why. Maybe because it's homemade. I'm not sure. But let's get started with the wet ingredients. So we do need some oil. So coconut oil is so good for you. And now this is kind of funny, those of you who know me, because I'm a total measurer. And watch me. I'm actually just using a knife, and I'm not even using a tablespoon measurer. So about 2 tablespoons of whatever this is, coconut oil. And then coconut oil is solid. So we know that we're gonna need a little bit of water. So I have hot water here. So I'm adding that, and that will just melt the coconut oil really easily. Okay, here's the thing. You get a little workout when you're making these bars or balls, whatever form you want to put them in. And so I love, this is so funny, I love my hard spatula that is supposed to be used for the food processor, the Cuisinart. You can use anything kind of hard, not super bendable, because you're gonna have to put some muscle into this. That's another reason why a lot of people don't like to make these bars, just because it's a chore. And so often over the last 20 years, when I have secretly given this recipe to some friends, they've been like, oh my gosh, I want your recipe so bad. And then they get it and they're like, oh, I don't think I can do it. Can you just make the bars for me? So it is a little bit labor intensive, and that's why I'm showing you all these tricks. Okay, so I have melted the coconut oil with some hot water. Okay, now what we need is some maple syrup. So we're gonna do a 1/4 cup of that. And this is something that I changed over the years. I used to think that brown rice syrup was really healthy, and I think there was something that we used before that. But I've just done a lot of reading, and I decided that maple syrup, at least for our family, was the best option for a sweetener. Honey is good too, but I think that it's a little, when you put too much honey in this recipe, I think it's too honeyish, actually. Okay, now we're gonna do, oh, guess what? I don't have it out. The vanilla. So with vanilla, don't worry, I am coming back. I have not left you. With vanilla, make certain that you don't have imitation vanilla. You have actual pure vanilla extract. Okay, so there's your vanilla. My vanilla, soon to be your vanilla. And mix that. Okay, and then almond butter. So I believe that almond butter is a lot healthier than peanut butter for so many reasons. We can talk about that later. I don't want to make any peanut lovers mad right now. But this is almond butter, and of course, all of these ingredients, if you can get them organic, that is ideal. Okay, we try to make it make as little of a mess as possible in this process, but I'm trying to do it fast enough to not bore you. I think we need just a little bit more. Okay, so almond butter, yay, got that. Okay, so that is all of our wet ingredients. Now, I just put a little bit of water in it because here's something really, really, really important about these bars, is that if you try to save yourself the trouble of having to mix, like have a difficult mix process, you end up putting more liquid in, and then you get super sticky bars. So we don't want too much water yet. So now this is all mixed up because I kind of went like this, and you pour them in, pour in some of the dry ingredients, and then I get that all incorporated. I feel like such a chef using that word, incorporated, mixed. Okay, so again, you need something kind of hard because, you know, it's kind of hard to mix. So get that all mixed up, and then some more. Okay, now I'm gonna find very soon here that it's gonna be really hard to mix. I know that I'm gonna need a little more water. But again, you do not want the bars too wet. You will shoot yourself at the end, and you'll be like, ah, dang it, that is what she's talking about. So you need just enough water. I know on the recipe I wrote 1/4 to 1/2 cup. But so as you can see, I did all the dry ingredients, mixed those first, then I mixed all the wet ingredients, and then I put them together, because I promise you, if you try to do the wet ingredients and then you try to do the dry ingredients one by one, it just won't mix very well, and you will be sad. Okay, so we're mixing it. Let's say a few things about the dry ingredients while I'm mixing here to keep you entertained. Okay, let's talk about chia seeds. Now, if you're in the privacy of your own home eating these bars or balls, or if you eat them in public and remember to check your teeth, then you're good. The problem is chia seeds love to stick between your teeth. So if you forget to check your teeth after you've eaten these, hopefully you'll have somebody who likes you enough to tell you that, that you have a chia seed in between your two front teeth. So just remember that. And so, I don't know, I just want to share that because I'm one of those people that all the time I have something in between my teeth. And so I really think you're a true friend if you tell me that I have something in my teeth. So watch out for those chia seeds. And what else do I want to say? I did say rice. It could be rice flour, it could be almond flour, it could be coconut flour. The almonds in the recipe, if you prefer other nuts, totally fine. Won't change the recipe, just will change the taste a little bit. You'll see that there's mini chocolate chips in the recipe. You can thank my kids for that. And mini is great because especially if you are doing little balls, then it's instead of getting just like a mouthful of chocolate, it's just the right size. So balls are great. I'm gonna show you that in a second here, but balls are great because you can just pop the whole thing in your mouth versus biting off the bar and then getting all the seeds in your teeth. So balls work great. But anyway, thanks to Ava and Asher for suggesting years ago that we put mini chocolate chips in them. And anyway, I am a true believer in whey protein powder versus some other protein powder, like especially ones that have soy in them. Anyway, you might do a plant-based protein powder because you need to, but there are a lot of health benefits to whey protein powder. Okay, so I have a tired arm now. You will too. And you'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure if this is worth it. But hey, you just came up with your quick dry ingredients because you did that all ahead of time. And now all you had to do was mix it with your wet ingredients. Okay, so now you have two options. You can get out a glass dish and you can put all of it in there and pat it down, or one by one, you can do little balls. And we like to do this a lot because then what you do with your little balls is you put like maybe 5 or 6 in these little snack size bags, and then you just grab it, run out the door, and then over the school day or the work day, you can just pop them in your mouth. Otherwise, you do the whole thing and you put it in, put all the ingredients that have been mixed, put it all into your baking dish, and you pat it down really, really well. Now again, if you put too much liquid in it, it will be super easy to do this, and then you will be so mad because when you try to cut the bars, you're gonna realize that they are super, super sticky. Okay, so pat it down super well, and then this is key, put it in the refrigerator at least overnight or for many hours before you flip it, pop it out onto a cutting board and cut them into bars. And then when you have the bars done, all cut up, again, you get out your little snack pack size Ziplocs, and you keep them in the fridge or the freezer, and then you can just grab them and go about your day. And you've got your protein bar or balls in your possession, and you've got them for a quick meal or a quick snack, whatever you need. Okay, so I might pat this down a little bit more just to make sure it's really in there, but it looks like this. You don't bake it, you just put it right in the refrigerator, you get it cold enough, and then you bring it out, you put a cutting board down, flip it over, and then get a big old knife and chop them into bars. And there you go, you have your homemade protein bar / ball recipe. I hope you like it. I would love to hear your comments. So after you try your first batch, please let me know what you like, what you don't like. This recipe is so dear to me. It has made so many people happy over the years, and so I am thrilled to share it with everybody. so that you don't ever have to spend money to buy a bar that somebody else made ever again in your life. You don't have to. Okay, thank you so much, and let me know how it goes. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and let me know what you want to see more or less of, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.